Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So as we talked about the other day, the polling not great for the president. In fact, when the Fox News poll has you with the highest approval ratings, I don't know that that's great, but they had him at 47%, which that's great, especially on the Fox News poll. There were some more concerning things in there a little bit later, but every headline tells you Democrats are headed for bloodshed. It's going to be it's a horrible year. All the arrows are pointing towards massive losses in the House and Senate. Look, it's going to be a rough year. It is a midterm election. You got a Democratic president in power right now. That's another thing. And oh, by the way, you got 19 states who passed 34 laws to try and block people from voting. I got to tell you, if there's anything that's going to get Democrats fired up, it's getting past that. And here to share some thoughts on maybe just how bad things are going to be, or maybe they're not. Maybe things are rosy. Maybe things are going to be great. That's why I've asked Joe Trippi to come talk with us. Joe is a veteran Democratic political strategist. He's worked on numerous major campaigns, from Jerry Brown's bid for governor in California, Doug Jones in Alabama, good victory there. He's now working with the Lincoln Project. He's also host of the Joe Trippi, the Trippi podcast, which we will put out on social media and how you can take a look at. Joe, thanks for taking time for us.
No, great to be with you, Rick.
So let's start with the big question. How bad is it going to be? How horrible is November going to be for Democrats? Because if you look at the numbers, they're fleeing. Every time I turn around, there's another Democrat going, not running for re-election. What are we up to now, 30? 28, 30?
New blood. We'll just get some new blood in there and some fresh faces. Look, I actually think all the doom and gloom is way overblown. We started last year looking at redistricting. Most of the people who crunched those numbers thought Republicans would be able to draw 10 new Republican districts that, without even casting a vote, they'd have 10 more than they've got. It didn't happen. In fact, now with redistricting, the states that have come in, it looks like there's going to be 4 to 6 more districts that Joe Biden won. In other words, gains for Democratic potential seats. So, I mean, there's things like that are going on underneath everything. And I also think, look, part of the polarization that we have, that 47 number in Fox News isn't all that surprising, right? I mean, what's the highest anybody would be right now? And what's even Trump had that kind of like small range between of movement. I actually think Biden his approval probably hit bottom a while ago, and as COVID and other things start to move, as we get deeper into 2022, and there's and the country continues to move forward, I expect those to go up. So the bigger thing, though, Rick, that I think is promising is the total loons that are winning, look like they're going to win the Republican primaries.
Right.
It reminds me of 2010 with the Tea Party, where you had the witch over in Delaware,
Christine O'Donnell, yeah,
and Sharon Angle, I think, in Nevada, who was it down in Missouri? I mean, but they said crazy, insane things, and the rest of the party had to run away from them. And they ended up blowing what should have been their winning a Senate majority. You look at Herschel Walker, Dr. Oz, and by the way, we're talking, races that are visible right now. You get deeper into those House races, they're even crazier.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, Joe. Though I kind of agree with you. 2010 we were a different country in 2010.
Sure.
The Republican Party hadn't come out of the closet yet as completely crazy. They are now completely out. They're now parading through the streets as complete lunatics. In fact, parading through the Capitol and, killing police officers and defecating on the floor and urinating on desks. And you have people in the Republican Party defending that. So I got to say, we're a little different party.
Some of those people are running. so no, I just think that, we are a different country, but I also believe that it's becoming clearer and clearer every day. The Select Committee other facts that are coming out, the Looney Tunes that the Republican Party are putting out there, and I think developments that we don't know. I mean, there are things that are going to happen between now and November.
Right.
Who would have predicted a lot of the last 2 years? But I just think this doom and gloom is way. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's a midterm election. You pointed that out. It's always tough in the midterm, the first one after new president's been elected. But I think there's real overselling of the doom, and I think it's a lot. I really honestly think we're going to hold the House and pick up a few Senate seats because of how crazy the Republican Party's got, and also, by the way, how many really good candidates. We have a class of candidates, I think more like 2018 of Tim Ryan and others that I think have, can really, against the crazies, can eke out victories. I really think that's possible.
So we're going to write that down. We're going to write that down today. On this date in history, Joe Trippi said they're going to actually pick up seats in this. Because, I'm looking at it and going, the message should be really simple. And the problem is Democrats are terrible at messaging. And I know you're going to disagree with me, and that's okay.
No, I'm not. They're terrible at messaging.
But the message for me in this election is not, all over the map. It's, are you for democracy or are you not? This is not a moment to be talking about, I got a policy paper. Right. This is visceral. Are you for saving the heart and soul of this country, our democratic process, or are you not? Because the Republicans have already said if they gain power, there's a good chance that they're going to impeach Biden and Harris and appoint Trump as Speaker of the House and install him as president. If that doesn't get Democrats motivated and close that enthusiasm gap, Joe, I don't know what will.
I think that's right, but I think it's not just Democrats. We got to rally Republicans, former Republicans.
I think we lost Joe there for a second.
Independent Democrats. All of us have to come together and put them on one issue: democracy. No, I think we have to do democracy. Are you there?
Yeah. No, you're right. We got to do democracy.
Yeah. Democracy. No, but it's got to be Democrats, Republicans, and Independents. All of us coming together. They're going to be. We've got to build a pro-democracy coalition that all rallies around one issue, and it's only democracy. And that's why one of the things I've started with the folks at the Lincoln Project is join the union.us, where people can sign up to be part of a movement to save democracy, regardless, putting our differences aside, joining together to organize and rally around that one notion.
Right. So when you say join the union, it's not like I say join the union. I want all workers to be part of union shops. Join form the unions of your choice. You're talking like the union versus the Confederacy. We want people back. Reuniting the country, right?
Yes, preserving the union, our republic, and our democracy. It's jointheunion.us. And I think, we've already had about 40,000 people join in the first few days here. So it's starting to roll across the country. I think we can all make a big difference together. And I think you're right, Rick. It's democracy, democracy, democracy.
No, I mean, all the other stuff is important. And look, what Democrats have a problem with is getting that bumper sticker. Getting that bumper sticker done. Republicans are masterful at bumper sticker policy. Granted, they've got nothing to back up the bumper sticker, as where Hillary had reams of policy, didn't get the message out as well. I'm of the mindset we need to do better messaging, and this one's simple. It's, are you for democracy or not? We can talk about Build Back Better. We can talk about voting rights. We can talk about investing in the future of this country and reshoring manufacturing and all the things that I love talking about. But at this point, it's visceral. Do you believe in democracy or don't you?
I agree. Absolutely.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show. We're here with Joe Trippi. Joe's a veteran Democratic political strategist, host of That Trippi Show podcast. I got it right this time. We'll get it out on social media, how you can take a look at that. He's also working with the Lincoln Project on this most recent project that, I think is really important to make sure that people get involved. Join the union.us if you want to take a look at that. So you said a moment ago that you got really great candidates. At the end of the day, it comes down to dollars and cents, though, Joe. You got to raise money. And from what I understand, there are a lot of people who they're keeping the powder dry, ducking and covering, whatever the words you want to use, because the message, you look everywhere, is still that enthusiasm gap. Do you see that changing in the near future?
Yeah, I do. I think, look, I think people were exhausted after the last election, rightly so. And I think until our candidates get out there, and there's like Tim Ryan, and these candidates are getting out there now, and starting to, I think they're starting to raise the money they need. I don't really think that our candidates are going to be short on money. What they're going to be short on is we have to be in every precinct, on every door. This has got to be a grassroots, from the bottom movement to save the democracy. Let the candidate talk about their policy, but we have to be out there fighting for democracy and making that front and center what this is all about. And that's why we did start the union. And you're right. I'm for calling on people to join unions too, but this is the union in the old Union versus the Confederates, bringing that back.
No, I mean, for me, the reality is, the one thing from January 6th that will never come out of my mind is watching someone walk through the halls of our Capitol with that damn Confederate flag.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you have to hearken back to that kind of imagery, and for people to understand that we're on the brink of possibly that kind of a conflict, because there are people who want to destroy everything that this country has stood for the last 100 years. And as I said in the beginning, we've got a Supreme Court that's in the process of repealing the 20th century. We've got to stand up and fight back on this stuff.
No, you're right. And that is it. I mean, to carry that flag through the Capitol on January 6th, to have 139 members of Congress vote to not certify the duly elected president of the United States, Joseph R. Biden. It was a failed coup attempt. And they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. I mean, that's this whole thing about, that's why it is democracies on the ballot in 2022. If anybody thinks that they have the majority in the House, that Speaker Jim Jordan isn't going to lead them to certify the loser in 2024, which will be Donald Trump running again. That's what's going to happen here. And that's why this is so important this time around. And that's why, as a Democrat, I joined the Lincoln Project, a bunch of former Republicans, because it is about putting all those past differences aside and putting democracy on the ballot.
No, I said this in a podcast I did recently, that this is that moment. This is the moment that we have to come together, because it is about democracy. And, if you would have told me back in 2010 that I'd be friends with Joe Walsh, the former congressman from Illinois, and that we'd be civil to each other and we wouldn't be yelling at each other, and that we'd be working towards the same goal, I'd have told you were crazy. But I see Joe now, and I consider Joe a friend. We agree on nothing policy-wise, but the one thing is saving the democracy, our democracy in this country.
That's the only thing right now. It really is the only thing. We can get back to debating marginal tax rates.
I pine for those days. Absolutely. Yes. Here's the thing. I said at the beginning, there are 19 states passed 34 laws. Their goal is to stop people from getting to the ballot box. That is the intended purpose. They can say what they want. The default is always to hold people away. The default is to reject people from voting instead of being more into it. How are you going to get past that? I know people are saying, Democrats are better organized than they've ever been. We've got digital armies who are doing this, that, and the other thing. How are you going to be able to hurdle all these obstacles in all these different states?
It has to be a bunch of different things. It's got to be people like Mark Elias, who's filing lawsuits around the country to stop these suppressive votes and voting laws and the redistricting battles. He's winning many of them. Part of the union, we already have hundreds of attorneys who have signed up, joined the union and said that they want to help in the legal battles. So it's building that legal core, but also you're right. I mean, it's got to be we have to swamp the turnout. That's what we have to do. It's not about, well, can you do it? We have to, which is again why we're creating the activist corps, to get out there and start to build that now, register people, make sure they're voting. It's all of those things. We have to fight it every step of the way. Because, by the way, they're going to put up more and more hurdles. You pointed out that's what they're doing. They're doing it on purpose. And I think the other thing is when they do these things, in the past there tended to be a backlash. It's tended to help spur minority turnout and progressive turnout because of how how clear it is what they're trying to do and who they're trying to stop.
Yeah.
And so I think all those things have to factor in. But again, it takes us having to help by continuing to nominate lunatics that are so obviously lunatic that, like in 2010, they lose a lot of these seats. They probably in a normal year, but this isn't normal, they would have won, but not now.
Yeah. Is it hyperbolic to say that this could be the last free and fair election that we see in our lifetimes?
Absolutely. I don't think not hyperbolic at all. I think it's absolutely the fact. I mean, that's why, as a Democrat, I joined the Lincoln Project, and why I think we have to. It's the same thing with Walsh. I agree with you. I used to have knockdown, drag out, screaming stuff with him. But yeah, we have got, all of us have to come together, because this is that moment. This is the moment where if we fail now, we've failed generations of Americans, not just the past, but failed, the future generations of America will never know what the American experiment really was. And yes, it's not perfect, but that's what made this country great, was that we tried every day to make it more perfect, and we got to keep doing that.
Yeah, and we've got to overcome our divisions. What the right has done masterfully, and what the wealth class of this country has done masterfully, is they've figured out how to slice and dice and pit us against each other. And I always use the Jay Gould quote, if I could easily pay half the working class to murder the other half. Sadly, they're not paying anymore. We seem to be doing it to ourselves. But this election cycle, it's about getting out voting and taking that anger to the polls. Joe, I appreciate you taking a little time, sharing some thoughts with us. I hope you'll come back and talk to us again real soon.
Absolutely, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff, Joe Trippi. Make sure you check out his podcast, That Trippi Podcast. We'll make sure we get it out on social media, how you can take a look at that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Do you think that we're heading towards a disaster in the midterms? I seem to think we're going to lose. I wish I agreed with Joe that we're going to pick seats up. Hope he's right. Love to hear your thoughts. Rick@thericksmithshow.com. Quick break. Right back.